Just because somebody's good at something doesn't mean they're good at talking about it. You have to be able to articulate your skills like a champ. You have to be able to make it happen and have the stick skills and wiggle the sticks and all those things.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Pilots, I have great news. On April 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing another live webinar, but this time it is with the new director of pilot hiring at American Airlines, Miss Dina Payne-Smith. You get a chance to be one of the very first people to ask her the questions that are on your mind. Check in the show notes. I'll have a link so you can sign up to join us. I can't wait for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. April 10th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Sign up in the show notes and join me and get your questions answered. Hey, pilot. Welcome to Ready for Pushback. My name's Nick Fialka. I'll be with you today. I'm with you 2 out of the 7 days of the week. That's, what is that? 2/7. My little Kate, who does the intro, she's doing math right now, lots of fraction work. And we were talking about fractions today. So yeah, I'm with you 2/7 of the week. And Kate, if you're listening to this, which I hope you're not because you should be in bed, but 2/7 is 2 pieces of a 7-piece pizza. And that's a good thing. It's less than half. Anyway, what you care about, and you are listening to this, is what we're talking about on today's solo episode. Today's a great episode, actually came from a listener. And he sent me an email, says, "Hey, Nick, longtime listener, and I think I have an idea for a solo episode. Just because somebody's good at something doesn't mean they're good at talking about it. You need to have interview prep." And I thought about that for a really long time. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're good at talking about that. And that is so interesting. It's super interesting. And I started looking into it. And it's actually like a regular, real phenomenon. And here's what's up. Here's what I found. People that excel in performing a task often struggle to articulate or explain the process of what they do effectively. And the reason for this is there's a discrepancy between performance and the explanation due to the complexity and the inability of the person to have the skills to articulate themselves clearly. And there are pitfalls that are associated with that. And the first one is implicit knowledge. And so before I get into this, I want you to think about this show and about this episode from the position of a pilot and the position of what you do. If you're married to a person or dating a person or have a relationship or a friendship with a person that's not a pilot, and they try to ask you, they want to know what you do. They love you. They want to hear what you are up to, or your parents, man, your mom who wants to, sit down, tell me about your day, tell me about what you do. That is a hard thing because you just want to kind of like gloss over it. But I want to challenge you. Listen to this show, okay? I want to challenge you at the end. And so the first reason people have a hard time explaining this is because of implicit knowledge. People that are pilots get a deep understanding of their tasks. How do they do that? Because it's repetitive experience. It's a lot of practice, and that practice builds intuition. Whether you're controlling the stick of a plane or the yoke for whatever guys, or the cyclic for the helicopter guys, right? You're controlling the aircraft. You're moving it through the sky. You know you want to climb, you know when you want to descend, you know how much power to add, you know how much to take off. Maybe you got auto throttles, whatever. You know how to work VNAV and LNAV. You know how to do approaches. You know how to do departures. Or maybe you don't, but you will at some point. You can keep going down the path. Like you get to figure these things out. You develop this experience and this intuition, and it becomes implicit. And that knowledge that you have that is implicit becomes basically unconscious. And it's difficult to verbalize because you just do it. You're going to hit a point, you're going to turn right. You're going to do this, and you're going to turn left. You're going to have an emergency, this is going to be your reaction. You're going to do a stall, this is how you're going to do it. People may not be consciously aware of the specific steps or strategies that they're using to accomplish that task because it's basically ingrained in their procedural memory, which is a good thing. You want your procedures to be ingrained in your memory. You want to know how to do a takeoff properly. You want to know how to do a full flap landing properly. You want to be able to do stalls properly, precisely, procedurally, every time without even thinking about it. That's what we drive for. So you already, it's already one thing against you because all the way through your training, we are training you to create this implicit knowledge, right? And then there's tacit skills, right? Certain skills that are tacit, meaning they're difficult to transfer to others through verbal instruction alone. Does that sound familiar? Is the skill of flying a plane difficult to verbalize unless you're actually sitting there with that person doing it? Like an artist might have this intuitive understanding of color theory and composition, but they can't tell you, they can't articulate to you what those concepts mean because they just see it. Same thing with flying a plane, right? The tacit skills rely on your sensory perception, muscle memory, you know your checkpoints, you know what it feels like, your intuition, and it makes it challenging to verbalize it. So you have two things now. We have implicit knowledge and we have tacit skills. And the third one, man, I'm guilty of number 3. It's the lack of reflection. People who excel at a task, they oftentimes don't take the time to sit and reflect on what they just did. They don't think about their process and break it down into these understandable components. Why? Because it just is something that they do and they just start making it happen. And then as a result of that, it becomes more difficult to explain things and their approach to others is not clear, right? Because they haven't consciously analyzed or deconstructed that to themselves first. So you have to have that reflection to be able to deconstruct something and able to articulate it out. All right. So now we have 3 things and I got 3 more. We're halfway. Number 4 is communication skills, man. That's what it is. You have to be an expert in what you're doing, right? Whatever your domain is. And that for us is flying. But also you have to be able to convey your ideas clearly and concisely. And that is the biggest struggle of a lot of people, is being able to convey an idea clearly and concisely. And so those communication skills, if you have a hard time articulating that, you have a hard time moving anywhere from what you do. You might be the best at what you do, but if you can't communicate what you do and how you do, then you are never going to move forward. You're going to confuse people. There's going to be misunderstandings. I think of that, speaking to my spouse, speaking to Anna. I mean, communication skills are very difficult. I say a thing and maybe I hurt her feelings, and that's totally not what I intended to do. I wanted to convey a different thing. My communication skills were poor, and I did not accomplish what I went forward to do. All right? So that's number 4, communication skills. Let's move on to the 5th of our 6. We got 5 pieces of our pie now, 5 pieces of our 6-piece pizza. Number 5 is context dependence. And this is really interesting, all right? So if you were a pilot and you are trying to perform a task effectively, it might be really context dependent. It depends on the specific environmental cues, right? There are situational factors. Maybe you're up high, you don't have a lot of control authority, but down low, you do have a lot of control authority. Maybe you're worried about density, altitude. Maybe you're thinking about this, that, or the other. What are the situational factors out there? What are the personal preferences? Like how do you memorize your emergency procedures? And so environmental cues, situational factors, personal preferences, right? When you are asked to explain the process of all those things together in a different context, people have a hard time. They struggle to adapt their explanations in a way that somebody can understand because you just get it. You just have these cues. You just see the factors. You know, when you're up high, you add this much power. When you're down low, you have this much control authority. You know that in IFR conditions, you fly like this, and VFR conditions, you fly like that. You know, when you read an RVR that is 666, that you're going to have to shoot probably a Cat 3 approach, or when it's 200 and a mile viz, hey, we're good to go. We're just going to shoot a Cat 1. Like all these contexts, all these things that you have going on, if you can't just kind of break those down into little comfortable pieces, it becomes hard to explain because it's dependent on the context. The sixth thing, right, is called the theory practice gap. And it says that in some cases, there can be a gap between the theoretical knowledge and the practical application. Does that sound familiar? The theoretical knowledge of aerodynamics and how the thing works versus the practical application of how to recover the aircraft or how to execute it, right? People that excel at performing a task, they can develop their skills through hands-on experience and skip over or miss the formal training and the academic study. And conversely, right, the same thing. If you have a really solid academic understanding of it, and then you start to do the practical application of it, it can be really difficult to just wrap your head about because you're trying to think 00110 and you're trying to make these control inputs and it just doesn't work. But once you get the feel and the practical hands-on experience, then you start to get it. And that's what this whole world's about. And so as a result of that, people have a difficulty explaining kind of how they do it. And if you've ever been in a simulator and you're having a hard time with a V1 cut or whatever the procedure is, if you're having a hard time with it and all of a sudden you just have this miraculous moment where this simulator instructor can convey concisely what to do, that's a really good instructor. And you should give them a high five because that is such a hard thing to do. And those are our 6 things. So I've been talking for a while. I want to kind of come back and see this. So we've got what makes it difficult for people to articulate themselves and explain a process effectively is 6 things: implicit knowledge, tacit skills, lack of reflection, communication skills, context dependence, and theory practice gap. So those are the 6 things. And all of that is important if you want to be a pilot and you want to go get an interview for a job. I don't care where you are interviewing. If you're interviewing for a job as a CFI or if you are interviewing for a job at a legacy airline, you have to be able to articulate your skills like a champ, like a pro, like somebody that does it all day long. You have to be able to make it happen and have the stick skills and wiggle the sticks and all those things. But you also have to be able to speak articulately and bring somebody along with you. If you struggle with articulating what you do, if you have difficulty explaining who you are and why you are and what you do, you are not going to be able to get the job that you desire. And that is what my team does at Spitfire, guys. Like, that is what we do. I know what you do. My guys and gals know what you do. We know how hard it is to be a pilot. We know the skills required. And you know what you do as well. But can you have the conversation in depth about what you do and why you are in the same breath? If you can, then you'll go far. But 100% of the people listening to this show need somebody to help them along the way. I needed somebody to help me along the way. And that is what our team is here for. We are here to make sure that you are the sharpest, that you are the most articulate, that you are able to have the knowledge of flying and be a pro at aviation, but also explain it in a way that is compelling and articulate and beautiful. And those things, those 6 things that I mentioned, they all work together to create a really, really solid pilot that knows who they are and can help articulate that to other people that are listening, that hold the keys to the castle. And so that's what I want you to do. That's your challenge, is to work on these things. Join up. R4P is my coupon code. The letter R, the number 4, the letter P. You can join up. I think it's pretty awesome. I dare you to find somebody better. You should make sure that you are sharp. And you need to be ready before you get ready, because it happens fast. We are in a real competitive environment. And those that can explain themselves clearly and articulate themselves with precision, those are the ones that get the jobs. Everybody else stays where they are. And I don't want you to stay where you are. I want you to come fly with me. I want you to come fly with Bill and Tron and Euron and like my whole team. We want to fly with you. So that's what we need to do, y'all. So think about that and chew on it. Listen to it again. Think about those 6 steps, all right? Because those are the things that really help you communicate clearly. And that's it. So thanks for listening. I'm thankful that you've joined me for today. I'll see you again real soon on the next interview episode. And then every Thursday is a solo show. Do share the show. You can follow me on YouTube or on the podcast stuff. People say like and subscribe, so I guess you probably should do that. That's a fun thing. I'd love you if you did. Give you a high five. And that's it. So keep flying, keep thinking about what you do, and go deep. All right? We'll see you on the next show. All right, pilots, that's a wrap on this episode. And I know what you're thinking. You need to make yourself a little bit better. So how do you make yourself a little bit better? You tighten up your resume. So here's what I want you to do. Go over to my website, spitfireelite.com/podcast, and you can download my free resume template. It is literally my resume that you can download and you can put your own skill sets in. It is tight, it is organized, and it's the perfect pilot resume. It's just something I like to do for the pilot group, and it is free to you. So go over there, spitfireelite.com/podcast, and download your free resume template. While you're over there, look at all the services that we offer. Lots of great interview prep, lots of great application review. Everything you need to be a professional pilot is right there at my website, spitfireelite.com/podcast. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next episode.